ReZero Season 3 was a huge change of pace from the last two seasons, going from the mystery/detective storytelling to a full-on battle shonen. A change that, although interesting, uses this opportunity to show the development of our main characters while making other characters have the spotlight this season. I think this season was amazing, but I do have some critique coming from a light novel/web novel reader perspective. Not as aggressive as some people on Twitter, but still stuff I was slightly dissatisfied with. So then, let's get right to it. Season 3 adapts Arc 5 of ReZero, which is called Stars That Engrave the Future, and is regarded in the community as the shonen arc, due to the number of fights that take place. And even if calling it that sounds logical, it still manages to be much more than just fights. Regarding the adaptation of Season 3, I do have a bit to say, since although for the most part they did a very good job, there were still parts where I would think White Fox could have done better. But let's go with the good stuff, starting with... Coming from Season 2, which is the worst ReZero has looked, we got a huge upgrade. The new character designs, done by Hakuro Sugawa, are massive improvements for most characters. Anastasia, Priscilla-sama, Emilia, Garfield, Julius, and Al are just a few examples of just how much they were improved, compared to the Season 2 and 1. Yes, I think Season 3 looks better than 1, fight me. Characters like Subaru, Krush, and Wilhelm, although pretty good, I slightly prefer their Season 1 designs. And shockingly, Capella and Liliana had amazing improvements compared to the official designs. And people that say the contrary, let's be for real, man, like, come on. Capella is no less representative of lust by having a top instead of a bikini, and Liliana had no business being dressed like that. Not only that, but the fact that they still look pretty consistent on big fights is a huge plus. I'm glad White Fox is taking their time polishing and making ReZero look as amazing as it did this season. And yes, I know that there are parts where it does look kinda iffy, but it still looks really beautiful everywhere else, compared to Season 2 where a good amount of times the animation looked very off. The obvious highlight of the arc is Vincent Chansar's cut, but other cuts should not be slept on. I mean, it's all humor, Wilson vs Theresia, and every scene Capella is in. It really is a great time for Season 4, and I don't care if I have to wait 3 or 4 more years for it. I will be there, as long as they cook this well for the upcoming season. I know they do not hold back with the gore, so I'm not that worried in that department. I just hope we don't get a Season 2 situation again. I trust you, White Fox. For the most part, the adaptation was done pretty nicely. I'll get into the bad part in a moment. Because it's a light novel adaptation, a good amount of dialogue still got cut out, but the message gets through. I'm glad that in Subaru's speech, pretty much nothing got cut out of it, since it's the turning point of the arc. As this shows the development of Subaru going from someone that relies too much on return by death to only dying 3 times to a full-on witch cult attack, not dying even once to the strongest Archbishop. From an arrogant kid that thought the world needed to recognize him with nothing to back him up, to a legend in the making, still doubting his feat and capabilities. We have seen him at his absolute worst, and now we see him at his absolute best, knowing just how much he has developed after Season 2, so I'm glad we were able to see that change in full display here. The death of Regulus was done amazingly. Yes, I know that his backstory was cut out from the anime, but I feel like the sentiment of the scene was still done masterfully, showing in full display the pathetic nature of the little king. The way they handled his defeat got me jumping up and down like a little kid, and with the OST that was heavily underused last season, the way Regulus VA went crazy with his rant, the visuals of his dead wives mocking him at the moment he dies, combined with that title card. I was just so hyped, man. They really did this moment justice. And a neat change that I praise the anime for. Instead of Priscilla coming to save Anastasia, Ferris, and Al from Capella, it was Reinhardt. A minor change, but it does add more to the Theresia episode and the breakdown of his relationship with Wilhelm, adding more weight to the scene. We don't see Reinhardt again until the reunion of the camps and the novels, so not only giving him more time to shine, but also showing us that he is not an emotionless person like he's shown to be. Even if it was just him having his hair down and affirming his role as the Sword Saint, it still adds up. Overall, compared to the last 2 seasons, Season 3 did a better job at adapting essential content since it's pretty much a fight-driven season. Not much plot stuff could be taken out of it. However, there was still stuff I think they adapted poorly. Stuff that left to be desired from it. So with nothing to do, let's go to... Although I was satisfied with his death, Regulus' fight left a bit to be desired. In the anime, I feel like Regulus as a threat is much more tamer compared to the novels, where he feels much more menacing. It really isn't something to discard the adaptation about, but I think the other instances of him showing his power could have been more helpful in showing how much of an issue Regulus was. Examples being how he blew off Reinhardt's leg with his breath and how his still water attack absolutely demolished the part of the city they were fighting in. Regulus is cocky and that was portrayed nicely in the anime, but I would have hoped to have seen him back up more the fact that he is the strongest witch factor user only behind Satala than just seeing him being a clown most of the time, even if it's in character for him. Talking about that, something I really praise rezero about is how well Tappei Nagatsuki can flesh out his characters. We see this clearly with Subaru and Emilia, but the side characters, even those that just have around 10 minutes of screen time, are also really well written, able to take the spotlight for many chapters and still engage you to the story. Teresia is one of them, and her name chapter is one of the biggest highlights of Arc 5, and seeing how they butchered her character was pretty sad. The reason that made her unable to pick up the sword and the reason she decided to pick it up was completely recontextualized in the anime to fit a simpler narrative. In the novels, instead of being her uncle's voice repeating to her, "Pick up the sword, Teresia," that made her pick it up, it was to save Wilhelm from a demi-human attack. To this point, Teresia wouldn't pick up the sword because of her divine protection of the Death God, which made that any injury she deals won't be able to close and will continuously bleed out. Even with her brothers and uncle dying, she wasn't capable of picking up the sword, but the moment Wilhelm's life was in danger, she immediately locked in and wiped out every demi-human there. Two simple things that could have evoked more emotion from the episode and to their relationship, but with such limited time and needing to conclude the Astrea drama that same episode, led to an unfortunate adaptation to one of the biggest moments readers were expecting from this arc. However, I did not mind the loss of the sword god in there, since I was confident it will appear once a Reinhardt named chapter gets released, and it really doesn't contribute that much to the chapter rather than lore and setup, which wouldn't be the first time we lose something like this. But nothing can compare to the break time. The fucking break time! They put in it crucial information that was supposed to be known since the beginning of Arc 3, Ao's reveal as a person from beyond the Raging Waterfall, or in other words, Isekai. One of the first things that make Ao so mysterious put in a chibi short that most people don't even know of. I still find it hilarious since Tappei himself does this shit too, but with side stories. On some random side story only sold in some hidden village in Antarctica into the first 20 penguins that arrive, he will dare to put the most earth-shattering lore reveal known to the rezero plot. It's frustrating, but really funny as well. I really hope they do not do this with the cliffhanger content from season 2, but by how things are looking, I guess we'll see all of that fun in the break time episodes as well. Faithful to the source material, I suppose. Even if this season was amazing, it's still the weakest season of rezero in my opinion. Season 1 has so many amazing moments that really elevated to second place, and Season 2 has not only Parent and Child, which is my favorite episode of rezero, but as well as Love Me Down to My Blood and Guts and Choose Me, which are my other favorite episodes of rezero. This season has some heavy hitters as well, with the newest hero and the most ancient hero, as well as Regulus Corneas, but it's still, in my opinion, the weakest of the three. But seeing our protagonist's development in full motion was still really beautiful, as well as characters we haven't seen since Season 1 and some new characters. I thought that Liliana was going to be as annoying as she was in the web novel, but surprisingly, she was really nice to watch and her named episode was done really well. Garfield's plot was also done nicely, although I think they could have had more scenes dedicated to it, by how rushed it felt at the beginning. And man, seeing all of the Archbishops come to life was so amazing. White Fox is a favorite, and her name is Capella Emerauda Lugunica. She was giving half the budget, man, like holy fucking shit. And I'm glad this season let everyone have the spotlight. We saw Priscilla in action, which oh boy, thank you White Fox. You have half redeemed yourself from skipping most of her content back in Season 1. We have Ao being mysterious as always, some side characters clap right sorry ass, Garfield getting the rest of the budget, the Astras nominated for being one of the worst families out there, Anastasia being mysterious as well, and Crush and Julius taking a fat L. It couldn't be rezero without something bad happening, but that cliffhanger was diabolical. I had a hunch that the season would end there, but man, they really shuffled everything to put everyone in a false sense of security and hit them with a Who's Julius right at the end. Poor guy, going from one of the most renowned knights of Lugunicum to some random dude on the streets. Also, it's so sad to see that the Crush Camp can't stop catching L's. Wilhelm just saw his wife die right in front of him, and the rift between his family has just gotten bigger. Crush lost his memories right at the beginning of the royal selection and just got packed up by Capella, being left in a crippled state. And Ferris, being the best healer in Lagunica, is rendered completely useless to help cure Crush. Trust me guys, they will make the greatest comeback of all time. I hope they haven't appeared in the main story for like 10 years. I'm also glad we got to see more of Anastasia's camp, since they were pretty much just background characters in Season 1, with only Julius being the exception. We got to see the 3 GOATs and of course, Priscilla-sama. It's sad that most of the royal candidates' characterization was cut out from Season 1, portraying them as just assholes and nothing else. This season works on giving them more of a personality since, you know, they're also pretty important to the story, since they are the other competitors of the royal selection. They need to have more to them than just, I'm a dictator, I'm a greedy bitch, I'm a fucking asshole, and fuck the rich. So I'm happy this season finally delves a bit more into these characters as well as their respective camp members. You guys may not realize this right now, but the biggest plot point for next season has just been set up. Or well, has been setting up for a while now. And just as a little teaser, it has a lot to do with Subaru. But for now, we'll leave it there, since it's best to go blind for the next season. Season 3 was an amazing ride from beginning to end, and I hope you enjoyed it too. I can't stop praising White Fox because they really did such an amazing job. 10 out of 10, peak fiction, it's good to be back. This is Noodlefucker saying, like, subscribe, and good night.